record. Oh, it's still recording on my computer, I guess. Yeah, if you can't stay, whatever, just do whatever you need to do. Okay, so let's go into here and look at the gross structure of the kidney and where the kidney is positioned within the body. So we're not actually going to go through terms yet. We'll just take a look. So here are your kidneys. You can see here's your iliac crest. So they're going to be slightly higher than the other. You can see the right kidney is a little bit lower than the left kidney. And the reason why your right kidney is lower than your left is because your liver is in the way. And your kidneys actually started way down here in your pelvic cavity when you were an embryo, and then they had to ascend. And so the liver was already there. And so when your kidneys ascended, then it got stopped in this position. So, so that's why one kidney is lower than the other. Okay. And we have our renal vessels that are associated with the kidney. So here's our, the abdominal aorta, and here's the inferior vena cava. And so we have the two renal arteries that will branch off of the aorta and go to the kidneys, and then we'll have the two renal veins that are going to go or come from the kidneys and go into the inferior vena cava. You can see here is the position of the adrenal glands, again, on top of the kidneys. And so, oh, you can't see that. Sorry about that. We're on the wrong, it needs to go over here. Hang on. I'm so sorry. I got to figure out how to move that. Yeah, I know you're not seeing. I just realized that because we're not on the right screen. So let me get rid of that and share that instead. Okay, now can you see big kidney view stuff instead of just slides? Are we, somebody tell me yes, yay or nay? Oops.
Yes.
Okay, sweet.
Yes, you did.
Okay, thank you. Sorry about that. No, I just realized, I was like, oh, that's in the wrong spot. Okay, so that was everything that I just I just said. So now you can see where everything really is. So you can just check out the renal arteries and veins again, and the adrenal glands, and then you can see the blood supply to the adrenal glands. And then you see here are the ureters. And so this is where the urine is going to leave the kidney, and it's going to go down into the bladder. Let's see. So now let's go to our list, and under kidney, you can see the first word is the hilum. So this curved area right here is the hilum, where all of the blood vessels are going to be found, as well as the ureter. So it's this scooped out area of the kidney. So kidney isn't totally oval. It does have this depression or indentation on the medial side for the renal vessels and the ureter to be found. Okay, if we go into just a picture of the kidney itself. Okay, all right, tell me if you see just a kidney by itself, or we're in the same picture, because I don't know how this is gonna work if I have to stop sharing and do it again. So is it just
it's
one
still
kidney?
the same picture.
It's still the same picture? Okay.
Yeah.
Freaking stupid thing. All right, so let me share differently and see if this works. Because I don't have this as a PowerPoint. Okay, now. Nope, you still are not seeing that. Oh, freaking. Okay, what about now? Do we see a whole kidney?
Yes.
Okay, sweet. All right. So here is a cross section through a, you know, Nicole, you could probably just mic up and be quiet and tell me stuff all the time. All right.
I'll try. I'm muting it so my kids don't run in and say anything, but I'll unmute and answer you.
Okay, that's fine. That's great. Okay. So, and Jamie, thank you for typing in real quick and telling me stuff. All right, so renal vessels, we got a capsule. So if we take a look at the outside, we have this thin, just like an apple peel okay, right around the outside of the kidney, called the capsule, made out of dense irregular connective tissue, okay, DICT. So whenever we have capsules from here on out, they'll always be made out of dense irregular connective tissue, okay? So just like the fibrous capsule in our synovial joints, and here, this capsule will also have capsules around the gonads, so always dense irregular connective tissue. All right, so the kidney is divided into two regions. We have a cortex and a medulla, and just like always, the cortex is always on the outside, the medulla is always on the inside. So here is the renal cortex, all around here, and let's see. Okay, so I'm going to outline right here. So this is the border of the cortex right here. So everything going out. Whoa, where did that come from? So everything out to this area right here, that's weird, is all cortex. And then the material that we have inside of that is all medulla. So all to here is medulla. Now, the medulla, well, let's see. I don't want to do this. Okay, let's go. Oh, hang on. Okay. Now, can you see a picture with blood vessels and names on it?
Yes, it's in there.
Okay, sweet. So I'm just going to have to like flip through things and go back and forth because I don't see my whole board of pictures. I'm just clicking trying to find pictures. Okay. So I want to show you how the kidney's set up, why we have a cortex and why we have a medulla. All right. So the blood's going to go in and in through the aorta. I mean, in through the renal artery from the aorta, and then it's going to branch here into these interlobar arteries, and so they're going to go between these little sections in here, which we'll get to in just a minute. So they're going to branch, and as they branch, they're going to go out here to the cortex. And in the cortex, we see actually, which this is kind of cool, we have these arcuate arteries and veins, which actually form the border between the cortex and the medulla when we look at the kidneys. And then we have these radiate arteries or interlobular arteries, the cortical radiate. Anyway, you don't need to know those names, but this is where all of filtration is going to take place, because filtration of our blood happens within the cortex. And so all the blood is going to get out to the cortex, and then we're going to have all these little branches, all these cortical radiate arteries, and then we're going to do filtration of the blood from modifications off of these radiate arteries. And so all of these little branches are all going to be arterioles, and we'll look at that when we look at more microscopic structure of the kidney. Okay, so remember, all filtration is going to take place in the cortex, but where do the blood vessels enter and leave the kidney but here on the medial side? So really we can think of the cortex is on the lateral side. So we've got to get the blood to the cortex, and we're going to pass through sections of the medulla down here that have blood vessels in them. Okay, and so these sections of the kidney that are cutting through the medulla that have the blood vessels in them are known as renal columns. So if we go back to this picture, here you can see labeled as a renal column. So here is a renal column, here's a renal column, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, well, 7 with this one. 7 renal columns that we find right here. And only the big blood vessels will be in the renal columns. We only have capillaries in the medulla. We have no large, in these pyramids, we have no large blood vessels in the rest of the medulla, only in the columns. Okay, so so those are renal columns. Now, if you're going to cut through a semicircular medulla, you're going to end up, if you're going to cut through it, it's just like cutting up a pizza. So you're going to end up with triangular slices of the medulla. So you can see how they are triangular or pyramid shaped. So here, so we're in the medulla, but each one of these little flower petally things or triangles is a renal pyramid. And it's in the renal pyramid where the urine that's going to be produced up here, the filtrate, that it's going to come down and then it's going to pass through and into the portion of the kidney where we're going to get rid of it. Okay, so we got pyramids, columns, papilla. Okay, a papilla, remember we've got papillary muscles, we have papillae on our tongue, we have a renal papilla. It's just a little pokey thing. So this is the tip right here is, well, color it in like that. That's the renal papilla. Okay, so the tip of a renal pyramid is the papilla. And that's where all the urine's going to come out. All right, so now let's make the path of urine. Let's change this to yellow. Let's change it to gold. Let's make you really dehydrated. Oh, gold's not gonna, oh yeah, it kind of does. Okay, so once we've filtered all the blood up here in the cortex, then urine is gonna pass through tubules, which we'll get into in a minute. And then it's gonna collect here, and then it's gonna drip down into these little cups. So it's gonna pass out of the papilla, and it's gonna drip. Oh, that's a bad color because it's the same color. There we go. Let's make you super concentrated. Okay, so it's right here. Well, I don't like that color either. Okay, this is better. All right, there we go. So here is the little cup that's going to go around each papilla, each pyramid. Okay, so this is a calyx. Now, if you're a flower person, you'll know how all the little flower petals all collect into that little green thing before the stem of the flower. Sorry, they're working on the road out here and I have my window open. So that's a calyx too. So just think, oh yeah, where the little petals are is a calyx. Okay, so that's going to collect the urine as it drips down. Now these are minor calyces. So I have 1 here, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, okay, 7. And then a major calyx will be right here, 1, 2, and 3. Really, there's just 2. This is, well, I guess it looks like there's 3 in this picture. Because usually a kidney is not going to have more than 2 or 3 major calyces. And so that's where the minor calyx is going to collect all of its urine, and then the urine's going to flow down here, and it's going to collect here. It's all going to come together, and then it's going to come together in this region right here at the top of the ureter called the renal pelvis. Okay, so the renal pelvis collects all of the urine. Now, this is where kidney stones form, and gosh darn it, you're not here for me to show you my kidney stones, but I have been plagued with kidney stones through my life. And so, yeah, I kept some kidney stones, and one of them is actually quite large. It was 8 millimeters when the doctor came in and told me, because I was in the ER, and he goes, oh, I just after I'd had my CT, and he goes, well, it looks like you got an 8 millimeter kidney stone. I'm like, you've got to be kidding me, huh? Because 8 millimeters is the diameter of the ureter. So there was my kidney stone, boom, totally plugging up the opening. There wasn't anything getting by. And yeah, that was not an exciting time. But I'll tell you more about that when we get into lecture and stuff. I'll show you some kidney stone pictures because I forgot to pull some up. Okay, so that's the renal pelvis. All right, now let's go, let's see. Let's go on down with the macroscopic stuff. So we're going to skip the nephron, And then the nephron's really part of the the collecting duct's really, it's not.
Mitchie, the renal pelvis is this whole tube or just that area that you highlighted?
This area right here. So
Okay,
everything I just colored in green is the pelvis. And then this is the ureter. So starting right here as it leaves the kidney, then the pelvis becomes the ureter. Does that help?
Yep, thank you.
Yep. Okay, now, I know I have collecting ducts separate because it really is separate from the nephron, but we'll come back. We're going to put collecting duct with nephron, and then I'll explain why it's not part of the nephron in a minute. So let's go back to this picture. Okay, so we want to go back to this picture now, and we want to look at the ureters. So here are the two ureters that come down from the kidney. And actually, embryonically, the kidneys form by themselves with the gonads, and then the bladder and the ureters form by themselves, and then they plug into one another. So this actually grows up to meet the kidney, and then the kidney, it plugs into the kidney. So they actually form from two different sets of tissues. It's just crazy, you guys. Embryology is so fascinating. But yeah, you would think, oh, shouldn't it just grow down? Nope, we grow two different places and come together. Okay, so there's the ureter. Here's the urinary bladder. Now let's look at a picture of the, I'm gonna have to scroll through a bunch of pictures till we get to my bladder picture. Lots of nephron pictures. Lots and lots and lots. Okay. Oh, this is cool. Yeah. Okay. So let's look at this picture right here. This says CT with contrast in it. And so this shows the kidneys here, and this shows, how it plugs in, because it actually does. It plugs in just like that. So all of this tissue grows up and then plugs into the tissue or the kidney proper. So here's the pelvis, here's the ureter, there's the urinary bladder. I really like that. Okay, here's a cross section through a ureter, and so basically we have those same layers that we had in the alimentary canal. But remember, what is the tissue now of the bladder? Does anybody remember? Don't look, it's right there. Transitional epithelium. It's also in the ureter. So remember, this is going to fill with urine, and then it's going to empty with the urine's going to empty out. And so this is going to change diameter. So it's going to stretch out, and then these little folds are going to not be there. And then when it fills up with urine, then it's going to push against the walls, and so this lamina propria, this thick basement membrane, just gets flattened and then fills in, just like in the bladder. So we have longitudinal circular layers, again, smooth muscle in the ureter, and then adventitia or serosa is essentially the same. There's that outer material around the outside. Okay, so here are the two views of the urinary bladder. So the male on the left and the female on the right. Inside, we have an area where the two ureters, so I'm just going to draw because that'll help. So, because it doesn't have it come. So here's the urine. It's going to come down from the ureter. It's going to pass behind the bladder, and then it's going to enter right there. And then the same with the ureter on the other side. It's going to enter right there. And then we have the urethra that's going to leave. So then we have this area of 3 openings right here is called the trigon. And if you'll notice, the trigon is not transitional epithelium. This is all transitional right here. But we don't want this area to stretch, so we don't have transitional there. We have regular, probably squamous epithelium, stratified squamous. I can't remember what it is. But anyway, so there's the trigon, there's the female trigon. So it's the area where the 2 ureters enter and the urethra goes out. Okay. And okay, so trigon urethra. So here's the urethra. You can see in a male that the urethra is much longer than it is in the female. Females about 4 centimeters, so about 1.5 inches. Males about 7 to 9 centimeters. Okay, so a little bit longer. And this is why females tend to have urinary tract infections more than males do, because it's a faster track up into the bladder, so the bacteria get up in here a lot easier than in a male. But if a male has a urinary tract infection, oh, I'm sorry, boys, that's super painful and whoops, not fun at all. Also kidney stones. So with my one kidney stone, my big giant one, so it came down and it was just, you know, big old giant thing. And we, fortunately, it gets moved because we have that longitudinal smooth muscle in there. So peristalsis is going to make that kidney stone come out. So it finally took about, well, I don't even know. I was diagnosed in November and the main pain went away until it came back at spring break in the middle of March. And so then I was having like super pain right here. And I thought, oh, maybe I have a UTI. And I went to the doctor and, you know, cause I go and I talk to my doctor about, you know, we diagnose me and talk about more things than normal doctor-patient relations. But so I said, I think I have a UTI. And he goes, well, the urine test doesn't show that you have it. And I said, well, I had a kidney stone back in November. And he goes, I think it's your kidney stone. I'm like, why would I still have a kidney stone? Well, what happened was the kidney stone got caught on this little lip right here. And so every time that my internal anal sphincter or urethral sphincter was closed, it would push on that kidney stone. And you guys, kidney stones are sharp as glass. And oh my gosh, it would just, it would be so painful until finally enough urine built up behind it that it just shot it out one day. And I was so relieved after that. But yeah, it's got stuck in there for about a week. So my kidney stone bounced around in my bladder for about 3 months, which is, you know, it can do that. And there are bladder stones too, and they look way different than kidney stones because bladder stones are like more like pebbles. They're rounded because they've spent so much time in that acidic urine that the edges have worn off. So anyway, it's kind of interesting. All right, so urethra. And the male urethra, notice it has three, it has a prostatic and it has a intermediate and spongy urethra or membranous intermediate urethra right through here and then down into the spongy urethra. Okay, urethral orifice is just the opening right there where the urine comes out and right there. And then just like we have two sphincters in our anal system around our anus, that we have two sphincters around the urethra. So we have an internal urethral sphincter, which is right here in the floor, not in the floor of our pelvis, right here in the wall of the bladder. Okay, so in the wall of the bladder, my internal urethral sphincter made out of smooth muscle, smooth. So that's involuntary. So it works the same way, same reflexes that defecation works. Micturition does the same thing. Okay, so smooth muscle there. And then here is the skeletal muscle in the floor of the pelvis, right here. And that's the external urethral sphincter. And then that will be skeletal. So this is what we learn to contract when our smooth muscle has relaxed due to pressure. The pressure causes that reflex to relax the muscle, and then that opens up, but ooh, we don't want it to leak out. So we have to pinch it off down here. We have to pinch it off right here so that no urine comes out. Okay, so that's all of the macroscopic or gross anatomy of the urinary system. So now we're going to take a look at the parts of the nephron, and then we'll be done for today. So, oops. All right. Anybody got any questions or comments while I'm going to find my
nephron? I missed where you said the collecting duct was.
I'm not, yeah. See, the collecting duct is kind of funky. It's too small to be part of the macroscopic, but it's not really part of the nephron either. So, yeah, that's why I left it. But I'm going to put it with the nephron parts. Okay. All right. So first of all, we need the nephron is the basic structural unit for the kidney. So we've got 3 processes that happen in the kidney: filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. So all 3 of those processes will be associated with this coiled structure right here. Now this is it stretched out. This is a more representative image of a nephron right there. It's very, very coiled because we're taking a long surface area for reabsorption and we're folding it up in a teeny tiny place because we've got about 1 million nephrons per kidney, and so we have to be very conservative on our space. The majority of the nephron is found within the cortex. Okay, so here's our cortical medullary junction right here. So you can see most of the nephron is going to be up here in the cortex, with the exception of just this one part right here called the loop of Henle. I know it's called nephron loop right there, but we call it the loop of Henle. This one right here, it has a super long loop of Henle, but all the rest of the nephron is up here in the cortex. These are 2 different, let's go ahead and name them right now. You probably can't see the name on here. This nephron over here on the left is called a cortical nephron. It can. So Patricia just asked, does that cause problems with urinating when you're talking about the stone being stuck? It could. Usually if it's up in the ureter, it will stop all urine flow from the kidney, and then it'll back up into the kidney, and a lot of kidney pain comes from what we call hydronephrosis. So swelling within the kidney because all the urine, well, the filtrate is backing up. I guess it's urine at that point. The urine is backing up. It can block the urethra to the point where, yeah, you can't void. But mine was small enough that urine still went by, even though it was stuck in the sphincter. But yeah, definitely. The stones can be so large that they will prevent urination from happening. Okay. All right, so this is, let me write this in. Okay, so this one right here is a cortical nephron. And this one, you'll love this name, juxtamedullary. Oops. Because it's right next to the medulla. So juxtamedullary nephron and cortical nephron. Okay. All right, so let's just go back to nephron in general and go to the generalized picture, and then we'll go back to the more specific picture. All right, so what you need to do, oh, I don't like this picture. Nope, we got to go back to this one. Sorry, you guys. Okay, because this is actually labeled. So we're gonna magnify that. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm gonna pull this down. There we go. Okay. So under nephron, you see afferent arterial, glomerulus, efferent arterial, and paratubular capillaries. Okay, those are the blood vessels that take blood to and from the nephron and the blood that's being filtered. Okay, so let's look at this first one right here is the afferent arterial. Okay, so that's this blood vessel right here, carrying blood to the nephron. So the question, when people can't hold it any longer and we wet our pants, is because the external muscles fatigue. Yep. Or there's too much pressure and they're not strong enough to hold it anymore. Yep. Or you get distracted. You know, you've probably had, you know, someone scared you. Oh my gosh. And you just let go and you just peed your pants. Or you're climbing over a fence, or you're reaching up to pull. How many of you can relate? No, because I don't have that many older mothers in my class, but you're reaching up to pull down the back of your minivan, right? We don't have those anymore, or SUV or whatever, but, or you reach up to grab something off the shelf and, oh, I just wet my pants. Yes, that's exactly why. Okay. I love my life. Okay, so afferent arterial. So make a note into yourself in here that afferent arterial carries blood to the nephron. Okay, afferent arterial carries blood to the nephron. Now also notice, well, we'll do that in a minute. Okay, then where does actual filtration take place? In this whole cluster of capillaries right here called a glomerulus. So a glomerulus means a ball of yarn, and that's exactly what it looks like. And we'll look at a picture of it in a minute as soon as we do the blood supply, because I want to talk some more about that. Okay, so so there is the glomerulus. Now blood has to leave the glomerulus, leave the nephron, and come out. So it's going to come out through the efferent arterial. So the efferent arterial carries blood away from the nephron. But notice that we have arterial, capillary bed, arterial. We haven't seen that before, you guys. We've seen capillary bed, portal vein, capillary bed, vein, but we've not seen a capillary bed in between two arteries. So this is very unique in our body, that we have an arterial going down to a capillary bed, but then popping back out as an arterial before it becomes true capillaries that then go back to the heart. Okay, so afferent arterial, glomerulus, efferent arterial. Notice right now the diameter of the two. Notice that the afferent arterial is larger in diameter than the efferent arterial. That's going to make a whole world of difference later on when we're talking about control of urinary function or filtration. Yeah, whatever. Okay, control of filtration. All right, so now what's going to happen to the efferent arterial? Well, what do arterials always become? They always become capillaries. So these are true capillaries right now. And notice that they're going to wrap all around the parts of the nephron. So these are called paratubular capillaries because they are outside of the tubule of the nephron. Their purpose is reabsorption. So this is where filtration, we'll write that in, filtration occurs at the glomerulus. My online professor is really good at writing with his mouse. And then this is reabsorption. And the other process that happens in the kidney is secretion. And before we leave, I'm going to tell you something, 3 things that I want you to know about filtration, reabsorption, and secretion. Okay, so paratubular capillaries go all the way around the tubule, and then where do they go? Oh, right here into this cortical radiate vein. And then they'll go into the arcuate vein, and then they'll go on into the renal veins. Okay, so this is a real capillary bed. So it goes arterial, capillary bed, venule, and into a vein. Okay, so that's the blood supply then to the nephron. So now, oh wait, I wanted to show you something about the nephron. About the glomerulus actually. Okay, so let's go back here. Where's my, oh, I have to get out of, okay. Where's my little movie thingy? Okay, we'll do it that way then. Okay, so here, there is, oh, now it's back. Okay, so there is a glomerulus. And so here you can see at each one of these glomeruli will be a nephron. So in this picture, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, a whole bunch, 99, 100 nephrons, because I have that many glomeruli. So each one of these, each glomerulus is going to have an afferent arterial and a glomerulus and an efferent arterial, or if we look at this one, here's an afferent arterial, glomerulus, efferent arterial. And so this will be the one cluster of blood being filtered by the nephron that's going to go around it. If we take a look at the blood coming in, here's the afferent arteriole. Here is we've cut through, because it's a whole ball of capillary. And so here we've just cut through the glomerulus, and we can see, oh yeah, it's just capillary width, because here's the size of the red blood cell, and then it comes back out as the efferent arteriole, and you can see afferent going in, efferent going away. Okay, so now let's look at the nephron in general, and then we'll look at it. It's so convoluted. All right. So surrounding the glomerulus will be the glomerular capsule. Okay, so right there, glomerular capsule. Let me get my little underliner. Okay, glomerular capsule is a blind cup. So it's just this cup that we're going to stick the glomerulus into, and then we've got a hole at the bottom. Okay, so think it's just it's a two-layered cup, double-walled cup with a hole at the bottom. And so kind of like a bathtub or a sink. A sink is a great analogy, except part of the sink is going to touch the blood vessels. All right, so that's the glomerular capsule. Then we're going to go, so filtrate will go into here, and then it's going to pass through the proximal convoluted tubule, and we call it proximal, or the PCT, proximal, because it's closest to the glomerulus. Then we're going to dip down into the loop of Henle, or the nephron loop, but we're not going to call it that. We're going to call it loop of Henle. Now, please make sure that you know the thin segment is the descending limb, and the thick segment is the ascending limb. And I put that on your paper, but make sure that you remember. We have a thin descending limb and a thick ascending limb. Super, super important because of their physiology. We have to have different characteristics. So obviously we're going to have different structures. Okay, then we're going to go up to the distal convoluted tubule, and now we're going to go out the collecting duct. Now notice that the collecting duct has lots of little branches. That's because a collecting duct will serve many nephrons. So you can see here, this nephron is dumping into the collecting duct right here. This would be another nephron, and so on. If you think about in your neighborhood, you have a sewer line in the middle of your road, in the middle of your street, and then every house hooks into the sewer line. So your house would be all of this, all the nephron, and then the sewer line in your street would be the collecting duct. And the collecting ducts are all running through the renal pyramids. So the lines in the renal pyramids that we see are just dozens and dozens and hundreds, I should say hundreds, maybe thousands, probably thousands. Because remember, we've got 1 million nephrons, so how many are going to serve? I don't know. Never heard how many collecting ducts we have. Tens of thousands, probably. Okay, so that's the collecting duct. All right, now, what else do I want to tell you before we leave? I don't know, anybody got any questions? Oh, I know, don't question me yet, because I want to show you something else. I want to show you just how convoluted, oh, no, we got to do that. Okay, so go back to your glomerular capsule, and we want to talk about tissues. All right, so what is this outer wall? Oops. No, whatever. I'm not going to worry about that. What is this outer wall of the nephron made out of? It's made out of simple squamous epithelium. Okay, so the parietal layer, that's the outer layer right here. So it's the wall of your bathtub. Okay, now let's put a sheet of saran wrap over the top of your bathtub, and now let's push the nephron into it. So then we have the visceral layer. So what is my saran wrap? Is this podocyte, okay? So my saran wrap is a whole bunch of podocytes that are going to wrap around the glomerulus, and I'll show you what that looks like in a minute. Okay, so the inside that touches the blood vessels is the podocytes, okay, specialized cells, and I'll show you what they look like in a minute. Okay, so just regular simple squamous epithelium around the outside, and then podocytes that touch the blood vessels. Okay, now proximal convoluted tubule tissue, simple cuboidal. Oh, wow, we haven't done cuboidal yet, but remember we said it was in the kidney. So here are simple cuboidal cells in the kidney tubules. Proximal convoluted tubules. Okay, two things I want you to know, especially about proximal convoluted tubule cells. Lots of microvilli, okay? And what are those microvilli for? Just like what we have in the small intestine, the microvilli there, these are for, whoa, I don't know where that came from. They're for absorption. But this is reabsorption this time because it was material that was in our bloodstream, and then we just filtered it out, and now we're reabsorbing it, okay? So lots of microvilli on the apical surface for reabsorption, and then lots of mitochondria because we're going to do lots of active transport in our proximal convoluted tubule cells. Active transport. Okay. I don't care that you remember that the basolateral membrane is really folded. It is, because we're going to put some transporters in here. So we want to also increase the surface area for transporters in there. Okay, so there's that tissue. Okay, then distal convoluted tubule. Oh, sadness. Look at very few microvilli, fewer mitochondria. And we'll talk about that. But still, what kind of cells? Simple cuboidal epithelium. Okay, so fewer microvilli, fewer mitochondria. Now, nephron loop. Okay, the thin segment of my nephron loop is simple squamous epithelium. Okay, so simple squamous epithelium, but then when we go to the no, where's my thick ascending? Okay. Thick ascending will be more cube-like. So it will be cuboidal again. I don't know why they didn't put that in there. Oh, probably because it's just the same as proximal convoluted tubule. So thick ascending limb and distal convoluted tubule, they're kind of all the same. So it's going to be that simple cuboidal again. Not as many microvilli. So more like distal convoluted tubule cells will the thick ascending limb be. And then we'll worry about collecting duct cells between principal and intercalated cells much later on. So just put simple cuboidal for the collecting duct is all the tissue that we need to know for that. Okay, here's the last thing, and then we're done for today. So let me get out of this, and then I'll stop sharing, and then I want to share my whiteboard. Okay. All right, so can you see my whiteboard?
Yes.
Okay, good. All right, so I'm going to type this in because it's much faster. Okay, so I need you to know where things are moving. So infiltration, whoops. Oh, I have caps locks on. Okay, filtration. Okay, material is going to pass from capillary to tubule. Okay, so in this particular case, it's going to go from the glomerulus to glomerulus to the glomerular capsule. Okay. Then we want reabsorption. It's going to go from proximal convoluted tubule, well, here, we'll do it in general, tubule to capillary. So specifically, it's going to go from proximal convoluted tubule to paratubular capillaries. Paratubular capillaries. Okay, so that material that's been filtered. Okay, and then lastly, secretion is going to go from capillary to tubule. Okay, so it can go, and it's going to go anywhere, but it can either go proximal convoluted tubule or distal convoluted tubule to paratubular capillaries. And tubular capillaries. Okay, so filtration is going to take out the bulk of the material. Okay, so what we're doing here removes the bulk of material from blood. Okay, now, oops. Now, because we have a process called bulk flow, we have a lot of stuff that we don't want to get rid of. So in reabsorption, this reclaims filtered material and returns it to circulation. Okay, all right, so that's what's happening with reabsorption. And then this is fine tunes the nature of the plasma. So in other words, it restores material from the filtrate or adds unwanted material into the filtrate. Okay, so what we're doing is either taking material back, like what aldosterone and ADH do, or we're secreting, we're getting rid of hydrogen ions, or we're getting rid of drug metabolites, those kind of things. Why we do urine testing to see if you use drugs is because it's going to be secreted into your urine. So I think that covers everything that I want to go over today. So thank you for your 2 hours of spending time with me today. And I'm going to post everything. I'm going to load it into YouTube and then post it into Canvas. And so you'll have these 2 videos to take a look at. So does anybody have any questions before we leave? Okay, sweet. So there it is. Yeah, that's because I haven't done the, Macy, it's too soon. The heck. I'll put a submit box today. And then, nope, we'll just have one lab quiz next week. Because, where's our new schedule? Let's see. Our new schedule is spring modified. Here it is. Okay, so nope, April 7th. So next week, March 31st, will be your quiz on digestive system. But if you want to go over that, oh, did you guys see I posted you the video that I made for online people on digestion? Because now it will be an enormous amount of time since we talked about digestion. So that's there. So the 31st is our digestion test quiz, okay? But April the 7th is our urinary anatomy. So what we just did, so, you know, we can review it or whatever. I just wanted to make sure that we got that done. And then April 14th will be our fluids and electrolytes. I mean, keep pushing it back, but if you guys want to take them sooner, you know, I can put them in there and then you can take them whenever. So really, I don't care, just as long as you have them done by the deadlines. So, oh, the last part after filtrate to what? Becca, unmute yourself. I'll unmute you. Okay. Whoops. Oh, you're not unmuting. Hit your space bar, Becca, and then you can talk to me. You should be able to. Let me unmute everybody. Okay, now you're done. Now you're ready.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I just need the last part of the plasma restores material from filtrate.
Oh, or adds unwanted material into filtrate. Alyssa just put that in the comments. Can you see the comments?
Let me go see. Oh, yes. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Alyssa. Oh, the white. Okay. So Trevor, did you get that now? Are you good? Perfect. Okay. Anybody got anything else? All right. Okay. So we will meet again on Friday. And I think our Friday will just be give you an opportunity because let's see. I moved back the test. So what do because I wanted to use today to get finished up with respiration. Okay, so we are on, so I changed the date. So Monday, so Friday we'll just come and we'll just hang out and whatever you want to talk to me. So I think this Friday will just be, I don't remember stuff. Let's, go over things with me. And so there won't be a real lesson on Friday, okay? It'll just be help me with stuff. So you don't have to, so Friday attendance this week is optional. Next week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we'll be doing regular stuff. But this Friday will just be whatever. So digestive homework, Tristan, is due next week. Yep, April the 31st. April the 31st. Yeah, that works out really good. Oh, here it is. I'm on the wrong thing. March the 31st is your digestion homework. Yep. Okay. Any other questions? No, it will not. Olivia, school will never be open for the rest of the semester.
You stated that our final would be proctored. How are we going to do that if school's closed?
Things change all the time. No proctoring. No.
Okay.
So we've got some because U of A has also gone non-proctor. 9 o'clock, Trev. 9 o'clock will always be our meet time. Yep. So no proctor final, but I have some things, some advisor, suggestions from University of Arizona, what they're doing since they're going non-proctored too.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Anything else? I know it's nuts, but I'm always around. I'm not doing anything else but this in my life. So whenever and if you guys just wanted to say, hey, Miss G, can we meet in Zoom? I'm not going to have regular office hours. You just send me a thing in Canvas and then we'll get together in Zoom. Even if I'm at home, I can Zoom from home. So I don't have to come to my office. Okay. Yep. But no, let's just do like we did today, probably. Oh, wait a minute. No, because we have Tuesdays. We're not doing anything on Tuesdays. I'll decide on Friday. I'll let you know. We may be doing our lab on a Tuesday, like at 10 o'clock so you can sleep in or something. I don't know. But I haven't decided yet. So we're still just playing everything by ear.
But everything will be open up to either take the quiz or submit homework and stuff?
Yeah.
Okay.
By Friday, as I work through my life.
Okay.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, friends. I love you guys. Bye.
Love you. Miss you. Bye.
Miss you. Bye.